Hey, what's up, guys? This is Jamie here with Phenom Hoops. I'm here with Jeff Bendel, our Director of Player Analysis. I got Rick Lewis, the founder of Phenom Hoop Report, and we're going to come here and talk to you today about 2020 stock risers from the month of July. We had a little bit of difference this year in July. There was a little bit some shake up, and with the June live period, the July live period, a whole bunch of guys got some offers. We're in a very fertile ground, Rick, with in the Hoop State in North Carolina. As an overall whole, how did you feel the live periods went, and how do you think the players in North Carolina performed?
I think they did outstanding. If you look at top to bottom, there was a lot of depth in the 2020 class, and you saw a lot of guys get plenty of offers through the June live period and also throughout the July live period.
Jeff, so I guess only 11 states in North Carolina or only 11 states in the country had June live periods, the high school scholastic stuff. Do you think it benefited the players in North Carolina that all the 300 plus D1 coaches in the country only had 11 places to choose from, and North Carolina, South Carolina were both one of those places? Do you think that benefited the kids?
Sure. I mean, I think it's always a benefit when college coaches are going to go see players, and I think North Carolina, while I think the timeline was a little bit straggled, I think that they did a pretty good job considering. Yeah,
absolutely. So in going through some of these players, guys, that we have that had huge breakouts and stuff, it's going to be at all different levels. We're going to have high major breakouts. We're going to have guys that had D2 breakouts, guys that first got some offers, all that kind of stuff. Rick, we're going to start with you. One of your favorites, Caleb Matthews, picked up Queens and Lander offers. He came from off the radar, being a complete unknown, to being one of the more talked about players. Now he's going on official visits and all that stuff. He earned the very first offer ever in his school's history, Henderson Collegiate. What did you see from Caleb Matthews this summer and his progression, not only as a player but in his recruitment?
Well, before we updated our rankings, he wasn't even in the top 100. We had a big adjustment curve there with Caleb Matthews. But the one thing that we've seen Caleb Matthews with both Henderson Collegiate and our team camps, and we also saw him with the Royal Knights, time and time again, he was one of the best three-point shooters in the state. We're talking about a 6'4" wing that has a 6'9" wingspan, who is absolutely silky smooth. Has a feathery touch from the perimeter. Probably had 4 or 5 threes each and every contest that he had during the summer. The thing that's deceptive about him is he's deceptive with his bounce. He has tremendous quickness, great leaping ability, and I think people really underestimate his overall athletic ability because he's such a smooth and fluid player. But he's one that's going to jump up. When we update our rankings, I really see him being in that 30 range as far as in the rankings. He's that good. And we just didn't see enough of him before this year. We saw plenty of them, and we liked what we saw.
Oh, without question. And the thing about
guys got it? All right, hard work on three, sprint to the next spot. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hard work. Sprint to the next spot. Don't walk. Get there.
About him that's so, he's small and slight, he's unknown, but he's got incredibly translatable skills. Like his bounce, his shooting, all that kind of stuff is things that go from level to level and translate.
Shooters translate at every level, and he's one of the best shooters in the state. Like I said before, when you see it, he has great shooting mechanics, great form. The ball comes off his fingertips, great backspin, great rotation on the ball. It's a feathery touch, so even when he does shoot it, everything looks like it's going in. And also, an unknown thing for a lot of great shooters, the one thing about it is, even when he misses, it's such a soft shot, it's what we call a soft rebound. The rebound's going to come close to the rim versus someone who shoots it with less arch, where there's a long rebound and the other team can get it going in transition. So that's another thing. Even when he misses, the team has a chance to get the offensive putback.
And I'll tell you another thing too about Matthews, Jeff, I guess we'll go over to you, talk a little bit about Matthews as well. I guess Matthews as a person in his recruitment, it was almost kind of was a detriment with the new way that things were structured, but it helped, Queens, where he's on an official visit to this weekend, was his very last game of the July live period. His point guard, Javante Waverly, was out injured. And he got to show that he can he's not just a scorer, he's not just a wing player, he's not just a shooting guard. He can handle the ball, and he can make decisions and make passes, make reads, handle the ball, initiate offense, do all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts about Caleb Matthews as a whole, and where do you think, prospect-wise, of him?
Well, I mean, I think he's definitely a guy that should have plenty of Division I schools all over him. He's a definite scholarship type guy. Rick really summed it up best. But I think, as you spoke to, seeing Waverly go down, sideline with an injury, it really allowed Caleb Matthews to kind of amp things up, show his full arsenal of skills more than what we've been seeing, even though he's been showcasing it on a regular basis. But I think something that also gets a little bit kind of overlooked is his defensive ability. He's pretty versatile. He's a real competitor, is what always stands out to me, is how competitive he is. Really wants to just destroy whoever he's guarding.
Yeah, I want to interject one thing, Jeff. As far as Matthews is concerned, he's a good secondary ball handler.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I've been impressed with watching him play is his ability to make passes off the dribble, both with his right and left hand. Yeah. And just like his teammate Devontae Waverly, they both have that same skill set. The other thing too is Matthews can guard multiple positions.
Yeah.
You know, with his length and his bounce. He rebounds the ball extremely well for a guard.
Yeah, he's going to be exciting to watch at the next level. As we said, he's on an official visit this weekend to Queens, and Queens only recruits mid-major Division I players. So, moving on, Jeff, somebody that you've been familiar with since the 8th grade, playing for the NC Heat in the back gym, Miles Tate. Yeah. He has grown. You have watched him grow up. You have watched him go from the Heat to, I guess, Team Loaded, now Upward Stars. Now he's a top 100 player.
Yeah.
Throughout July, he picked up Pittsburgh, Butler, Murray State, Ole Miss offers. If Murray State offers to South Carolina kid, he's probably a high major player.
Right.
What have you seen from Miles Tate in his growth, and what are you seeing with Miles Tate where he's at currently?
Well, I think as you said, we've seen Miles a lot, and the thing about him is how steady he's been. A starter on a freshman starter on varsity, for Dorman, who has been a three-peat champion, and he's been kind of at the forefront of that. Not physically one of the guys that's going to stand out and jump off the page, but he's just a dude that you can't bet against, and I think he's proven that time and again, even at CP3 camp, where it's like the best athletes at the guard position in the country, and he's giving them work like normal. Yeah.
Rick, what are your thoughts on Miles Tate? I mean, obviously he's the only point guard to ever win a 5-day state championship in South Carolina. They only started 3 years ago. Dorman's won it back to back to back. He was a freshman on that first one, a big time contributor. What have you seen with Miles Tate? What are your thoughts about him?
Well, when you mentioned Miles Tate, you're not going to look at and be one of the most explosive point guards out there, but his game reminds me a little bit of CP3.
Yeah.
A little bit undersized. You're not going to talk about his explosiveness. He's one of these guys that just understands the game. He's a cerebral point guard, and he's a passer-friendly point guard, but he has the ability to score from all 3 levels. I just think he's just a winner. He's one of my favorite point guards because he understands the concept of how to get his teammates involved in the game, and more importantly, he can make shots if he has to. And I think that's really what a point guard's responsibilities and duties should be on the court.
Rick, what are your thoughts, I guess, having been through the recruiting process, both as a parent, having been through the recruiting process as a coach and mentor, having been through the recruiting process on this side of things? Miles Tate is not somebody who checks the traditional boxes that high major coaches want. However, the box that he checks the most is production. He produces and wins, and that's what you want. What are your thoughts, I guess, for the size situation and all that kind of stuff?
I think the number one thing that we should look for in a characteristic for a point guard is, can they win?
Yeah, agreed.
And he's a winner.
Agreed.
I think the most important thing at every level, he's led his team to a state championship. His travel ball team, Upward Stars, is very, very successful. The one thing he does do is win. And I think that's the most important stat for any point guard at any level is, can you win?
Yeah.
Lead your team to wins. And I think he checks those boxes, which is the most important thing.
Without question. And Jeff, the word that I think about when I think of Miles Tate is fearless. Is fearlessness. What do you think about Miles Tate and just his overall presence? I mean, we were at the CP3 camp together. Like you said, he was maybe the best one-on-one guard there, going at dudes in a fearless manner. What do you think about when you think of Miles Tate?
I mean, just like Matthews, as we kind of just said before, he's a gamer. He's a fiery competitor, a guy that you're not going to want to go against, somebody you want to go with. He's just a guy you just can't doubt.
Yeah. The next one, Rick, let's head over to you. Another guy that we've known probably since about the 7th grade when his waist was up at his neck, at about 5'11", and we've watched him grow. This wasn't necessarily a July blow up, but he had a rapid blow up at the start of last season, and it's still going all the way up until now. He was at our All-American camp this past week. What have you seen from start to finish, the overall picture that Josh Hall has painted for himself?
It's called maturity. Last year, he came to our events, playing with the Durham Hurricanes, I believe, and he was probably getting a few low major offers. He went to Moravian Prep, he reclassed, allowed his body to get a little bigger, a little stronger, and just really develop, and he's still growing. I think he's 6'8" right now, but he still has that baby face to him. He looks like he's going to be 6'10", 6'11". His father's 7 foot. He has outstanding perimeter skills. We all knew that. What Josh Hall is doing right now is not surprising to us. I mean, we've been on the Josh Hall bandwagon for quite some time. I think the thing that's impressive more than anything else, when he came to the All-American camp on Saturday, he showed maturity. What I was looking at was Josh Hall the person and Josh Hall the young man. Because what he did was he was being a leader on the court. He was embracing the younger guys, putting his arm around them, giving the younger guys a little bit of feedback, a little bit of instruction. And I think that's the total evolution of Josh Hall as a player. We've all known he has the ability, and now the national scouts, have him as a top 25, a 5-star player, which deservedly so. I think they were a little bit late on that, but better late than never. That being said, he has all the abilities to play at the highest level and beyond. And I think that the question mark for a lot of people was that maturity. And what I saw just from Saturday at the All-American camp, I saw a young man that was really engaged, tuned in, and was focused. And he understood, like, when he was growing up, he probably looked at some guys that were McDonald's All-American type players or guys that were going to the NBA. Now, he's that guy, and the younger guys are looking up to him, and he is embellishing that particular role quite well.
I think you touched on something right there that was really interesting about Josh specifically. He was somebody who always had this dog in him, this chip on his shoulder that he played with. Now that he's finally getting his just due, now that he's finally getting flown all over the country to play in the events, the premier events, everybody wants a piece of him. He's getting all these scholarship offers. A lot of people, once they say they deserve this stuff and then they get it, they kind of forget about this path getting here. Josh didn't. Josh is still coming back to our All-American camp where it started. But not only that, as you said, he's not even he was once that little kid, like you said, that was looking up to the Harry Giles of the world and the Bam Adebayos of the world. Now he's taking these 8th graders, 7th graders under his wing and guiding them through it.
Absolutely.
What do you think that speaks to, not only to the longevity of how good he's going to be as a professional, we'll go ahead and say it, but his basketball career and him as a person?
Well, I think the most important thing out of Jamie is he hasn't forgotten where his roots are, where he came from. And a lot of young players, they're fighting for that respect. And I think for the longest time, when you watch Josh Hall, and you saw a young man that had the potential and it felt like he belonged, but he was always fighting to prove he was at that level. He's now at that level. So now what we're seeing is he now understands, what comes with it. A lot of young players don't understand the responsibility that comes with being a high-level player. He's going to be a role model to a lot of these young players. And I think that's the thing, and I say it over and over, it's the maturity factor. When he came to the All-American camp this last weekend, a lot of people asked the question, why did Josh Hall come? Because it wasn't, when we say All-American camp, we were basically saying who's going to be the next All-American. There was nothing that we could do to elevate his success. He was already there. What he was doing was giving back to us for what we've been able to give to them as a platform. We only provided the platform. They embraced it, they enhanced it, and they want to reciprocate the love back to us by being there on Saturday. And that speaks volume.
Absolutely. Speaking of Josh Hall, Jeff, you've got to see him a lot. Who does he remind you of as a player? What's his archetype as a player?
Wow, really threw me on the spot here. I'm really not sure. I mean, he's not a common thing at the high school level. I mean, you don't really often see 6'8", 6'9" guys with that type of athletic fluidity, on the perimeter. I mean, normally 6'8", 6'9", that's a 5. That's a definite 5 for most of the guys that we're seeing. 7-footers are just kind of a rare breed. But his shooting ability and athleticism, the blend of the two, I think, is what makes him so special. As Rick alluded to, I mean, his mentality has always kind of been, got to prove everybody wrong. And I think, it's just been a process for him. As far as comparison, I don't know. I need some more time to think about that, but definitely.
Absolutely. And this question is for both of you guys too, and it's kind of one of those things. Do you think Josh Hall realizes how special he could be as a player yet?
I do. I really do. I think the light bulb's gone off.
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking to his dad Quincy the other day at the All-American camp, and I asked him a question. I go, "When did you realize that Josh could play at this level?" And he goes, "I always felt like he could." He said, "I didn't know it was going to take him an extra year to reclass to get to where he is today."
Yeah.
I think the thing with him is, guys that with his size are late bloomers, and the skill set is all catching up to him with his size and his length, his athleticism, his ability to shoot the three-pointers as efficiently as he does. The next step for him is just getting physically stronger in the weight room. Once he goes to college, that will come. But I think the sky's the limit for him. There's just not many players in the country that has his size of 6'8", 6'9", that has the range. He's shooting Seth Curry three-pointers, and he shoots it with efficiency. So, and the other thing he's improved is his ability to put the ball on the floor, take it to the rim, and he's also developed as a very unselfish player, and he's a very willing passer. I mean, he does create off the dribble for his teammates. So he's not a selfish player. He understands the team concept. I think he buys into it, and I just think the sky's the limit for him. And when it's all said and done, I think Josh Hall could be a top 10 player in the country at the end of his senior year.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things that's cool. In April of this time last year, Rick, like you said, he was fighting for his first Division I offer come April, and he came to our Durham Hurricanes, like you said, Coastal Carolina, a couple others offered him.
I remember that.
But now he, in a year's time, he's fought from fighting for his first offer to being talked about as a probable, not possible, but probable NBA prospect. Yeah. That's a rapid ascension in a year's time.
Well, the NBA is basically drafting on upside and potential, and if you look at upside and potential, there's a lot of 6'8", 6'9" guys out there that may have his length and athleticism, but there's not many 6'8", 6'9" players out there that has his ability to shoot the ball. I think the next thing that he's going to probably work on is his guard skills, his ball handling, his ability to even be better, creating shots off the dribble and creating shots for his teammates. Once he gets that down, it's a wrap.
Yeah, because even if you look at the players, his archetype, the Paul Georges of the world and the Kawhi Leonards, they didn't necessarily get those ball skills that they currently have now, really until the NBA or close to the NBA.
Or even the passable jump shot.
Yeah.
For both of those guys.
Yeah. So it's a very bright future. It's very exciting to see. So we didn't want to leave him out. Jeff, on to you. Somebody that we saw him in 8th grade. We didn't see him for a couple years. He had some injuries and all that kind of stuff. That he came back to camp, and again, just like Josh, this past year, Nick Farrar has just been on fire. We saw him in December. We said he's a high major player before he had any offers throughout January. Then all of a sudden he started trickling in some offers, and now he's picked up LSU, Western Kentucky, Rutgers, Texas A&M in the last 2 weeks. What have you thought about Nick Farrar? What did you see in him when we were talking about him in December that we said he was a high major player? And what are you seeing that he's picked up on along the way, getting better and more confident in himself?
Well, I think it's pretty evident the kid gets better every single day. His body is gonna transform over the next year or two, and I think that's ultimately going to be the what leads to his success. Yeah. Because we saw him in 8th grade, as you alluded to, as a one-dimensional low post type of guy, just bully ball, drop down guys, and then just finish at the basket. Everything that he's done now over the last couple of years has been sharpening his perimeter skills, getting a jump shot, and now he's just really good and versatile on both ends. I mean, I think as he continues to drop weight and add muscle, like Josh, this guy's really the limit. I can see him going to a number of places and being the best player on the team.
Also, in looking at him and how productive he is and how mean he plays and how do you think him only being 16 years old plays into his prospect looking forward as well?
Oh yeah, just as Rick said, I mean, upside is a big difference maker for these guys. I mean, especially when you're looking at beyond the next level. He's young and he plays hard, and I think that's a big selling point for him, is because teaching guys to play hard and teaching guys to be mentally, there is a challenge, and I feel like you don't have to worry about those types of things with him.
Yep. Rick, what have you seen from Nick?
Well, when he first came off that injury and he came to the Phenom 150 camp, the one thing that you didn't have to teach with Nick was effort.
Yes.
He had a big time motor. He sort of reminded me of a young Grant Williams. He's one of these players that had a big chip on his shoulder, and he had that attitude as, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. But I think as a college coach, the one thing that you relish in players when you recruit them is you want players that you don't have to teach effort.
Yes.
With Nick Farrar, you don't have to teach effort. He's going to give you 100% on both ends of the court, and I think that's contagious. And I think, all the other things will follow suit, which they have. And I haven't seen them since our camp, but the one thing I've always been impressed with is his heart, and I think that's important. If I'm a college coach, bringing that kind of intensity to each and every practice, we'll wear off on the other players. If not, they won't be playing on that team very long. But he's he's a big time competitor. So kudos to Nick, because he's really made a name for himself this spring.
Without question. And moving on, Rick, I know that you want to talk about 2 point guards together. We had Anthony Allen that was at a lot of our events. He got a writer offer Division I, then also Lisa McCraven on Olive, a couple other Division II offers, and then Traden Williams at North Mech came through with the UNC Asheville, Western Carolina, Cleveland State, and Robert Morris offers. Those are two guys that we have kind of right neck and neck in our rankings. Their offer sheet still does not match their talent level. What have you seen from both Traden and Anthony this summer progress to actual, going from guys on the outside looking in to guys that are actually, in the game now?
Well, both those guys too were low on our ranking list coming into when we updated it, not too long ago. Traden Williams is a quick-on-quick guard. He's a good floor general, good facilitator. The thing that I like about him more than anything else is he has one of the best mid-range pull-up games that I've seen. He has a wicked right to left crossover pull-up jumper at the elbow. You just don't see mid-range jump shots being utilized that much in high school basketball. He has one of the best I've seen. He can score from all three levels, but he brings a level of intensity. He's a competitive player. He plays for Dwayne Lewis at North Mech, plays for Jeff McGinnis at Team Charlotte. Just like Nick Farrar, one thing you don't have to teach with him is effort.
Yeah.
He's going to play hard 100% of the time.
Another thing about these two guys, I think that both jumps off the page at me, Traden and Anthony both, is their defense.
Right.
Coming as a point guard, how does that, you think, help their stock? And how do you think that also can possibly go a little bit under the radar?
Sure. I think, as you said, their defense. I also had their toughness in general is a big thing. Anthony, I think, is a game-changing type of defender, as he should be, because he's an independent kid, and that's what they preach. Traden is the same way. For guys that are 6 foot, sub 6 foot, they are game-changing defenders at the point of attack.
Yeah.
Able to force turnovers, really able to mirror their assignment with their quickness, which is just unparalleled for most kids in the state.
Absolutely. And then also, Rick, I guess the new age point guard has to be able to score the ball. Going on the days of the point guards that facilitate, get 10, 12, 15 assists per game. Anthony and Traden, you alluded to Traden with his jump shot earlier. Anthony's got a dead-eye jump shot too.
Right.
What added aspect does being able to shoot the ball give to a point guard?
Well, it really helps their dribble penetration ability, because you have to both of them are really quick guards. Yeah. So you can't play off of them. You can't relax on them. And they both have outstanding range beyond the three-point run. I think Anthony Allen probably has a little better range on the three-point shot than Traden does, but
they can both score the ball.
They can both score, but Anthony has tremendous range from the three-point line. He's really good off the dribble bounce. The thing about it is both of them, you have to get up on them 30 feet from the basket. And what happens is when you have to guard somebody that quick, 30 feet from the rim, they have ability to give a shot fake, dribble by, beat the defender, get into the lane, and create scoring opportunities. And that's really the key. They're both pinch touch point guards.
Yep.
They can both get in the lane and facilitate for themselves or for their teammates. And by being able to hit that shot efficiently, you got to guard them, and they're so quick it's hard to defend them 30 feet from the rim.
Absolutely. Another one, Jeff. We didn't get to see a lot of him this summer. He was injured for the second event that came to ours. In the first event, he played well. Garrett Hine,
Yes.
Concord First Assembly, and then Pro Skills Elite. We've seen we saw Garrett when he was in public school, then we saw him when he transferred and reclassified back. What have you seen the progression of Garrett Hine, and what do you think his archetype is as a player moving forward? Describe it, because a lot of these people might not have seen him play before.
Sure.
What is his archetype as a player? What does he do, and what have you seen in his growth?
Well, I think you hit me with another guy. What's his player archetype? He's super unique, so it's kind of hard to sum him down to just a specific type of player. I still remember when he had 0 offers, and Rick and I were sitting in Charleston, discussing his level at the time. And since then, he's just skyrocketed through the roof. Picked up 15 offers
over the last month. He's got Samford, Elon, Mercer, App State, San Diego, Wofford, Furman, and Winthrop.
And he's picked up a ton since before then. Yeah. So it's no surprise. His size and ball skills are what continually impress, and that's what's going to always stand out. His defensive ability is something that I feel like always gets overlooked because he moves so well. He's an underrated athlete, that will catch bodies. Like, he's proven that he can play well above the rim. Very smart, very skilled. Just has the full package. I think once coaches have gotten beyond the look, what they see, his unassuming kind of look, they've all bought in.
Being a 6'9" guy who can shoot the ball, handle the ball, pass the ball, what have you seen from Garrett Hine over the last year that's really taken him to this 15 offer type player?
I think it's his ability to score, either through the 3-point line, mid-range, take it to the rim. I just think he's such a multi-skilled player at 6'8", 6'9". The next thing for him is just to get physically stronger, and once he gets physically stronger, and I think a lot of coaches realize that. He's really thin right now, but once they get into a college weight room, they can say, look at what he's going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. They're liking what they see because he's so skilled at his size.
Yes.
And then I guess we're running a little bit low on time here, so I'll give y'all each one more person to talk about. Rick, Xavier McLean came to our Dream Team camp. We talked about him nonstop about how underrated he is. Well, since July, he's picked up Campbell, Howard, and VMI. Yeah. What are your thoughts about Xavier on the high academic wing, 6'3" out of Village Christian?
Well, you pretty much hit it in a nutshell, but we've always been scratching our heads, like what's going on with him. A lot of times people will say, well, when we say that, well, we don't know what his grades are. Well, here's a young man who had basically a 4.0 GPA, so he's a high academic student. He's very athletic, and he can score from all 3 levels. He's proven that he is to me, a mid-major prospect very easily. And I'm just glad to see eventually, and now that he's getting the proper credit he deserves in the offer, because he's a talented young player. And
Jeff, we've been talking about this guy for a while, loving his two-way ability, and somehow he's been able to fly under the radar on an EYBL team along with, in Charlotte, North Carolina. Josh Banks picked up Providence, Texas A&M, Rutgers, VCU offers in the past couple weeks. What have you seen from Josh?
Well, I think it's another guy that's just the physical maturation of his body and everything. He was a guy that was at our Queen City Showcase 3 years ago and was just super good for Team United. But now he's just kind of ascended to a new level. He's put on a lot of good strength. He's still wiry to a degree, but I think he's put on a lot of good weight. He's a great athlete, 3-level scorer. His defensive ability is another thing that really stands out to me. He just does it all. I think he is a guy that's still probably underrated, even with the offers that he's been getting, just because he does everything, and he does everything at a great level.
Yep. Well, he hasn't been in our top 10 rankings, but I think when we redo him, he has a tendency to move quite...
to slide on up.
Slide on up to that rankings, yeah. He's very deserving of that.
Absolutely. So, guys, we're incredibly blessed to be in the Carolinas, where some of the best players in the country reside. July was a good one. There's some that we're also missing here. But I guess for now, anything else you want to say?
I think we covered it.
Think we're good?
Yep.
All right, guys. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Guys got it? So that hard work on 3, sprint to the next spot. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hard work. Sprint to the next spot. Don't walk. Get there, get there, get there, get there.